Oi you, it's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. Let's tune into the conversation.
Okay, this is my daughter's favourite song at the moment.
One of the songs.
She loves the Arctic Monkeys. I want to be a vacuum cleaner. Let me suck up all of your dust.
I don't think breathe in your dust.
I want to be a Ford Cortina. I will never rust. What fucking great lyrics. And I was listening to it thinking, man, whoever put these guys on the map, I mean, you have to have a special ear for those sorts of lyrics, but when you think about it, the lyrics are actually very clever. Very, very clever. Arctic Monkeys. Anyway.
She's definitely
I better switch that off or get in trouble now.
You will. She's very I love Lola.
Yeah, she's very like N, you know? Like she's like
she doesn't want to know
already.
Anything. She doesn't want to know anything that's not cool. Like anything that's not.
I went and got my nails done yesterday, Dad. Did you, honey? Yes, I did. Look. Oh, they're amazing, babe. They look awesome. I know.
She doesn't give away a lot, does she?
No.
She's shifted a little bit. It's
yeah, she's actually since she's got braces. She went and got braces. Since she's got braces, her face has changed, and she said to me about 3 weeks ago, Dad, can you just rub my legs? My legs are killing me. So she was having growing pains. Remember growing pains as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I used to fucking hate growing pains. And so I gave her a leg massage, and she always tells me afterwards that I'm crap.
Yeah.
At giving leg massages, but I gave her a leg massage. But that's always, and then over about a 2-week period, you watch her stretch out. I reckon she's grown about an inch, literally.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
She's definitely grown up. We're actually going to talk a little bit about you and the fam today, and some of the stuff that's been going on. With a few things over the past, probably about. I mean, if you think about it, it's probably been going on for about 18 months, probably. But then it's really come to a head in the last 6/3 months, really. So do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Excuse me. My kids went from a Montessori school to a mainstream school, which was a college. And going from a Montessori school, we always knew there was going to be some sort of level where the kids are going to have to adapt because it's a very different form of teaching, etc., etc.
Yeah, you definitely, as a teacher, you noticed a massive difference.
Yeah. There's no competing in Montessori schools,
So Steiner's more like that, isn't
it?
Yeah,
but it's also Montessori. There's no competing.
Do you want to just explain a little bit what Montessori is about, what the education system's about?
They also, excuse me.
My
Jesus
goodness,
Christ.
It's like you leave all your coughing for the podcast time.
Do you know a really good podcast room has a cough button? We need a cough button.
We'd never be on the podcast. We'd be like, the whole time. Oh, my Lord.
I think I'm having a fucking cardiac arrest. Anyway, so, basically it's based on non-competitiveness and they're more about letting the kids have their independence, and
it's more child-led. It's more child-led education.
Yeah, so you have to get the work done, but you can do it in a way in which you want to do it. So they really play to the kids' values.
Child-led.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. Yeah.
Okay, child-led, but they really lean into the kids' values and help them in that way. So we loved it, which was good. It was good for. It was good for the girls.
Well, it's particularly good. It's particularly good for the very early stages, where they really try. In the mainstream schools, it goes mainstream fairly quickly.
Yeah,
whereas in the early stages, I mean, Oliver had a really good. He was in Children's House for quite some time. With those few years, those formative years when they're learning
with a great teacher,
with a really good teacher,
really good
where
teacher.
They're really
And a good teacher because the kids would come home and tell you that they love them.
Yeah.
My kids used to come home and say, I love this teacher, and you could feel, Jesus, the kid really does, probably loves her more than me.
Yeah.
So, but the kids did really well. But as they went over to this more mainstream education, which we knew we had to anyway, because I didn't want them to lose a sense of competition. I think that's really important to them developing. As they moved over there, they definitely had there were some challenges, and so one of them girls has this really strong sense of justice. So within the first day of her being there, she'd literally dobbed out a couple of kids on something, and I was like, no, dude, you can't do that. Yeah, but they were doing this, and I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. You have to understand. You got to watch, pick your arguments, hun. You know, but she would never listen to that. Really, you know, she never lost that part of herself,
which you don't want her to lose.
No,
you don't want to lose her sense of justice, but perhaps it's about being able to navigate how to make that work in the world. Do you know what I mean?
How to manage it.
How to manage it.
And if that's their strengths, you got to know how to manage it, because you could be nurturing a great lawyer, or a great judge, or whatever. You could be a great humanitarian, but you don't want to ever lose that in the kids. So you got to be able to manage that. And so we've spent a bit of time trying to help her to understand that and work that out. But about 18 months ago, that year 7, year 8, as they go from year 7 to year 8, I have a couple of headmasters that I ride with, and both of them have said to me, both of them come from very, very challenging schools, and they're excellent headmasters. In fact, I said to one of them last week, I'd love them to come on the podcast. And he was saying to me, year 7, 8 and 9, he used a swear word, he said they are all like this. And he said boys will hit each other, punch each other, but 2 minutes later will have their arm around each other, which is fine.
Yeah, boys get it out and they're direct.
Girls differently, it's a completely different ballgame. And he said throw into the mix of all of that social media. He said it's fucking horrendous. And
not just social media, hormones, all the things.
Yeah, hormones.
At that time, at that age of their life, it's full on.
Yeah, he explained something to me. He said, when two girls get together and on Instagram they take a photograph and then it posts up onto their wall, what happens with the girls is one of the other girls who's not in the photograph goes, well, why have you got your arm around her? I thought you were my best friend, and I thought I was meant to be there. Weren't we meant to be hanging out? You said we were going to hang out, and then they team up with another group of girls that goes, look, she's hanging out with her now. She doesn't want to hang out with us. And he said, this is what happens within the classrooms and socially. And then he said within the classrooms you have socially complex groups, which are the cliquey kids, the kids that are the sporty ones, the musical ones, the ones that are really more popular. And he said they're really socially complex. And then you have the kids on the outer that are trying to get into that group and they get rejected. So then there's another group forms of the rejects, and then you have the ones who are in between that. And with the ones that are in between that, what happens there is they're the ones that are they're on the outcast. But over time, once the socially complex groups get into year 9 and 10, then what happens is the ones that were on the outer can see that they're socially complex, can see that they are the popular group, but they actually don't want to be part of it. So there's a great divide that occurs within the classes as they go through the years. But in terms of in terms of 7 and 8, 7 particularly and 8 particularly has this spike where he said there's just all of these hormones and kids are just very difficult to manage. And about 18 months ago with one of the girls, she started to get bullied.
I just want to say quickly with that, you were sharing this with me the other day about what he was saying to you, and it was a good analogy that, back when we were growing up, we didn't have, there's there's the photograph thing. At the end of the day, there was our version of it anyway, but just how it happens now is a bit different. Like, we wouldn't take a photograph and then just stick it up on the wall of the school for everybody to see.
Or you wouldn't take a photograph. How he said it was, he said, you wouldn't take a photograph, Mitch, right? Or get your kids to take a photograph of themselves and then print out 300 copies of it and then go into school and hand all those copies out to everybody in the classrooms or throughout the school, would you? And I said, no. He said, right, but that's what's happening.
That's what's happening technically.
With social media. And that causes, because it exposes you to massive groups of people where you're leaving yourself open to ridicule, and also it's emotionally very difficult to stabilise that. And parents don't understand that that's what the fuck is going on. And he was saying to me, and we're having to deal with that. We're having to deal with that stuff. Because, it's not just social media. Kids are getting phones, taking kids into bathrooms and bashing them, and then posting it up on fucking Instagram.
This is at his school,
posting it up on on social media. And then the cops are having to be called. And, he said it's crazy what he sees. So, but about 14, 15 months ago, one of the girls started to get like bullied, and it was badly bullied to the point where I was down to the school. And, you know, everybody handles that stuff differently. I'm very protective of the girls. So I was down to the school letting them know this has to stop. They were able to get on top of it to a degree. But then it kept happening. And then as I watched it happening, coupled with that, was that as she was getting older, they give them computers. So she started to spend a lot of time in her room. She asked for her own room. So we gave her her own room. And she started to spend a lot of time in her room. And then what started to happen was she wouldn't come out of the room unless it was to eat. And then you'd go into the room and she'd tell you to get out. And then her whole attitude started to change. And it was like, okay, what is going on here? And then as the bullying escalated and got worse, one of the teachers who was handling it left the school, and now it was the principal who was handling it. And the principal clearly didn't know how to handle it, like just didn't know how to handle it. And then what happened was I was out with one of my other buddies, and he said something really friggin' important to me. Because as I was going through this and saying, guys, I don't know how to fucking navigate this, you know, because my brain goes, okay, who do I fucking kill? You know, it's like, okay, who do I kill? And so
all of your personal development stuff goes out the window.
And it's
the
like,
minute
let's
that
go
one
get
of
the
your
chainsaw,
kids-
let's go get the petrol. And you just, you know, because it's your kid. And so I remember where was I there? I said...
Well, you had a really good conversation with
Oh,
one
yeah,
of
I
your
had a
friends.
good conversation with one of my buddies. And he has 3 boys, and they're challenging boys, and they're naughty boys. I really love these kids because they do funny shit. Like, I'll give you a quick side story. He comes out one morning to go for a ride. And his wife has got all the social media stuff, and he's blocked it all off. And he comes out to go for a ride, and he gets on his bike. And as he gets on his bike, he's like, what the fuck is wrong? There's no charge in my bike. So his wife happens to get and see that one of the kids has made his way around the social media blocks and clicked on a button. And here's the kid. And he's after stealing the dad's bike. And he's rode about 10 kilometres away, and he has a video of him and his mate wrestling on one of the roundabouts up the road. So the kid had got out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, met up with all his mates, gone out, hung out with them all night, and then got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, put the bike in, but forgot to charge the bike for his dad. And the dad got up the next morning and found the bleeding bike. So this kid is really naughty, but he's a lovely fella. So I was talking to this chap, and he said to me, look, mate, he said, when we were dealing with the bullying, one of the things that dawned on us is that part of the problem was actually us.
Wow.
And I'm like,
ching ching.
Look. But I mean,
It's funny, isn't it? Though?
well, no, because you think you're doing the right thing.
I
So you
know,
think, well, it fucking couldn't
100%.
possibly be me. I'm fucking
course.
pressing all the right buttons. I'm saying all the right things. And I'm contacting the school. I'm doing what everybody else does. And then I said, right. And I listened to him talking about how they had started to control the social media and also just screen time, right? I'm saying social media, but my kids don't have social media.
Yeah.
And but screen time itself. And, you know, there are certain platforms out there that are fucking bad, and you should not have your kids on them. So I was watching my daughter come out of her room with an attitude, but it wasn't her attitude. It was something that she was picking up from a fucking screen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how these girls behave like this with their parents in America, so I'm going to fucking do the same thing. Or, you know, it's not...
Do you know, I know somebody, just on a random note, she's got a young daughter, and her daughter has spent so much time on screen, she speaks with an American accent.
Oh, yeah.
She's like 3-4 years old, and she
Yep.
speaks with an American accent.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, it's
Anyway.
so fucking scary.
It's a bit. Anyway,
So I came
it's not a
home.
judgment thing. It's just it's just interesting to see how that happens. You know. Anyway, go on.
So she was to go on camp. She went on camp. Prior to going on camp, about a week earlier, something happened at the school that was bad. And I spoke to the headmaster, and, you know, I let him have it, and I let him know, you need to get on top of this because it's out of control, you know. And I was talking to him about, you know, what is your policy on bullying? Because every school has a bullying policy, a way in which they manage it. The kids go on camp. 3 days into the camp, an incident happens at the school, at the camp. And I had said to my daughter, if ever a time occurs where you feel physically threatened, no matter what happens, you have to make sure that you defend yourself or you strike first to make sure if you feel you're going to, you let the person know, and you got to make sure that you come out on top. when I say
The way you say it makes
I know
it sound worse.
it sounds terrible, but
Basically, you say you're allowed to protect yourself.
You're allowed
At
to
the end of
protect
the
yourself.
day, if someone's coming at you, you don't have to sit there and take it.
yeah,
You're allowed to stand
do
up.
not
Yeah.
do,
So
do
there's
make
nothing
sure,
wrong with that.
No,
you
of
know,
course.
Of course not.
So so the situation.
The way
happened-
you say it is like, come out.
well, I know.
No. It's
I mean, what's going on in my head is just
like,
fuck him up, right?
You're having
honestly,
to pull back. From
I know, but I have to be careful. But when it's happening, I'm like, don't let anybody do that to you. Don't let anybody put you in that situation. And what had happened was 3 of the kids walked into the dorm, told all the other kids to get out of the dorm, and then said, right. And then as that happened, my daughter went to leave because she was freaking out and went to leave, and then basically had to sort the situation out. So my daughter comes home and she's like, I get the phone call from the headmaster. He assures me, we're going to find out who did it, and da-da-da. My daughter comes home. She tells me what happened, and then I had her back. In doing that, though, at that moment, I realised, okay, there's shit has to change here.
Long story short,
First thing was, she said she wanted to change school. I said, okay, I'm going to change school, but there's a couple of things have to happen. The first thing that's going to happen is there's no more screens in the bedroom. So I've taken all the screens out of the bedroom. If you want to use your screen, you'll use it outside on the couch where we can see what you're doing, look at what you're looking at,
but also that
listen to what you're listening to.
everybody's there together.
Yeah, and everybody's hanging out. Yeah, but also make sure you're monitoring what they're doing and how much time they're spending on it.
Yeah.
The minute we did that, literally the next day, my daughter was a fucking completely different human being.
Not just
Part
her,
of-
all of them were.
All of them, but particularly the one that was having a hard time. And what I saw was the fact that her whole temperament and attitude had changed was actually her way of saying thank you, because I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't come out of the room. I couldn't get off the screen. I couldn't stop it. And they were all doing the same thing. And I realized, wow, that was me. That situation, here's fucking a big chunk of why that was happening. The next thing was then I said, okay, you have to learn about your body. You have to learn about your energy. You have to learn about your strength. And you have to learn about self-respect and how your mind works in relation to your body, because you're just lying on a bed with a screen in front of you. So I said to her, you're going to join martial arts. In doing this, I had pushback. I'm not going to martial arts. I'm not going to do that karate thing. Da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to go there. I hate you. You know, all that normal kid stuff that they say that really fucking hurts. And so I brought her down there, and in bringing her down there, I spoke to the guy before, and I told him the situation. He said, okay, we deal with this all the time. And in bringing her down there, within 2 classes, she was a different kid. Like, she started to just really come out of herself. And what happens when they get in there, like the first class was really grappling, and they put her in with some of the kids. At first, I could see she was,
The first class was adults.
Maybe the first class
It
was
was.
the
I think
adults.
you told me that it was the adults. It was
Yeah.
the women.
Yeah, and I think
And
Ange went.
Yeah, and I
Ange
think
went.
she said she really enjoyed that because she was with women.
Because she was with older women, yeah.
Yeah.
And in doing that, what she found was that the older women, she was learning to grab a person, get on the ground, roll around, learning, the woman was talking to her, communicating to her, acknowledging her, teaching her, and she was open to being taught. You know what I mean? She was. It started to open her mind, and she started to then understand her own strength, because she's a big kid, and she's strong. So she was starting to realize, hold on a minute, I don't need to be afraid. I am actually strong. I do understand my body, but this was it was like the brain just switched on. This part of the brain just switched on, and in that switching on, it started to really reflect to her who she was. So she started to come out of herself. And as much as the second and third class, she was still like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. Now it's, okay, let's go. Okay, I don't want to be late. Let's get there. One of the other classes that she did then was in there is kickboxing. And the place she goes to is, I'll shout out to Legion 13 in Midvale. When she got in there into the kickboxing really was good. And because it was all males. And in getting in there...
it's mostly males.
Mostly males. No. The one I've been...
The one I went to was mostly males.
Was there some females
There
there?
was one.
One, okay.
One, yeah.
So when I got in there and I watched how she was handling that, how these men worked with her was just amazing.
It's actually really beautiful
It was
to watch.
it was really, really lovely. And what you know,
because what I noticed was that she had a nervousness about not nervousness, but just a
shyness.
a normal kid's approach, you know, apprehension in a sense to being there, and while even though she wanted to be there, because when I was there with her, she wanted to be there, but the way the others were communicating with her and just connecting with her, allowing her to be nervous, but then also allowing her to get her energy out and encouraging that and encouraging that the behaviour where she could. She's got a tendency to hold a lot in. So she was really being encouraged to let a lot of it out, which is a big part of what.
Well, she's learning to express her anger, and that it's okay to express her anger and to channel it into her body, because she was holding a lot of it in her body.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just anger. It was just anything. It was like, and that physical movement, I think we spoke about on another podcast recently that, you know, your physical movement is very important because you're moving energy around. Yeah. And it was just a good way for her to be able to express a lot of that, right?
Well, life is movement, and movement is life.
And I think that I think a part of the message, I suppose, here is that all of these things we think are out of our control, but when we look at it, we really see the part we play in these things. I think as parents, it's really easy to say the kid this or the kid that, whereas we're setting up the environment and we're responsible for the environment. And I think you and Ange, for one reason or another, and with all the things that were going on, the environment was set up in such a way that it was just, this became normality instead of I think everybody's grateful to your, because it was really you that kind of pushed that, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody's grateful to that because it's really made a difference in how that, because, you know, I was living with you for a few weeks back there, right? And it had, if that had happened before, it would have been a totally different environment. I was there in a time where everyone was connecting in a different way, you know, and I think that one of the things I think is important in what you've said is that she was kind of asking for it because she didn't have another way. And I remember I was speaking to some of my mindset clubbers when I did a parenting call with them, and I was explaining how when a kid is not able to manage themselves, not able to regulate themselves, not able to stop a behaviour, it's okay for you to go in and stop the behaviour and help them to stop the behaviour, because until they learn how to do it, it's not like, you know, your kid's jumping up and down on the couch or it's doing something dangerous, right? You're not going to be just letting them continue do it. You're going to go and stop. You need to go stop. It's like when a kid crosses the road. You're not going to negotiate with them. You're going to grab them because they don't understand something different, right? It's the same way. Until you learn to be able to manage this yourself, I'm here because my job is to protect you. And you may not like it. And this is one of the things I think you said to her is that, you know, you may not like this, and I can understand that you might not like that this is the rule we're putting in place, but for the safety of the family, and it's the right thing to do with the family, this is what we're going to do. This is the part that you're going to play to go and do this. And that was the way you needed to get in. But at the end of the day, it was just exactly what she's needed so that she can go and, you know, learn about her body, etc. So in terms of her and the others getting out of the rooms and being more present in the family, that stems from the parents, and then it also stems from the parents. The transformation stems from the parents as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because the parents are the ones that know better and can know better. And therefore, sometimes we just need to direct our kids in such a way that we're saying, this isn't good for you. Like, life is good. You don't want to be living your life at this young age feeling that life is shit because you are getting such this dopamine hit from the screens that anything in reality is not suitable for you anymore.
You know, addiction will create a life that's shit so that you have something to escape to.
Exactly.
And this is really what I started to see. Well, we have to get on top of this, like, immediately. And that was a radical change. And then also she went to a school that's less focus on academia and more focus on adventure and outside stuff, and that also really helped a shit ton. But I cannot recommend highly enough getting your kids into some sort of physical activity, and martial arts.
She was
really
already
seems
in physical activity already.
Yeah,
but
she was a netballer.
But it wasn't the same.
No.
This is different. It's more focused energy.
Well, the thing is, it's the adult connection outside of her mum and dad.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That has really, really helped her to grow.
yeah,
Because she's realised that people are lovely. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? People want to help,
Yeah.
and people are lovely. And in doing that, she's learned to be close and learned to push away and learned to use her body. And it's affected her brain. She doesn't know how well it's affected her brain, but it's affected how she thinks. It's affected how she communicates. It's given her self-respect. It's fucking man,
very cool.
very
cool. I think good job to everyone all round in how it's been handled. There were ups and downs,
it's
but
tough.
definitely it was good. There was a lot of, there was a lot.
Yeah.
But it was also exactly what everybody needed in order to get to the next phase. Very good.
Cool. Even if you live the most extraordinary life, there is always more to learn. This is why tens of thousands of people are using MJB seminars techniques to hack their consciousness and bridge the gap from where they are to where they actually want to be.
MJB seminars use cutting-edge transformational processes that are science-based and backed to help people break through subconscious barriers and limiting beliefs in order to reset, reboot, and live inspired. If you'd like to know more today, Google search MJB Seminars Bridge the Gap, click on the first link and watch the video.
Now, for simply watching the video, you will also receive a complimentary coaching session with one of our master coaches valued at over $600 to help you get traction in your life today. Remember, live life inspired.